Good afternoon, 8th grade, or whenever you're watching this. I'm making this at 4:56 on Wednesday afternoon for those of you who missed class today and want an opportunity to make up their work. So we're doing lesson number 19, collision detention. Collision detection. So I'm going to run the program to see the robot bring the bunny dinner. When the bunny reaches the bowl, they both stop walking and the bowl becomes empty. What code do you think would help the computer know if two sprites were touching? So I'm going to hit run, and you can see, and I'll reset and run again. Make it a little bigger. See how the bunny and the robot touches and the bowl empties. So we are going to learn about those pieces of code today. Make sure you click on the continue button so I can see that you're finished and possibly not even have to check. So I'm going to run the code again. And it says computers use math to figure out whether two things are touching. Look at the math on lines 17 and 18 of this program to see how the sprite properties are compared with their width to see whether they are touching. So do this, read the if statements inside the draw loop to find different sprite properties and how they are compared. Discuss the code with your partner. Why does the code only use the width and x properties and not the height and y properties? Why would you want to write the code every time you check whether something was touching? So I am going to push it up and I'm going to look at those two lines. And if you look at these two lines on the if box, 17 and 18, see all this code. They're talking about the x and the x here, x and the x. It's a lot of code. And so what we're going to learn about that today is abstractors. And they're going to write these codes so they're much simpler. So make sure you just type something into that text box. When I first did this, I read that code and I could not figure it out. So I just put a question mark. Question mark would be acceptable. Then run your code and hit finish. Okay. Okay, number 3. Ready? Is touching. So I'm gonna hit run, and something is wrong here. So I'm gonna read the statement. Writing out a math each time you want to check whether two sprites are touching can take a while. So a program created the is touching block, which can check whether one sprite is touching another sprite, the target. The computer is still doing the same math as in the previous program, but you don't have to worry about it because another program already did that work. So it's asking us, inside the draw loop, drag the is touching block into the if block. Hint, don't forget to change the sprite to bunny and the target to bunny. Okay, so I'm going to go in, I got sprites, my sprite toolbox. I'm going to put in the sprite touching target into the if box on line 17, and we are going to change bunny for the first part of it and robot to the second. And that's all there is. That's all we're adding to this part. Hit reset and run, and you're going to see the same code that we've seen before. The bunny's going to go over and touch the robot, bowl empties out. So we added that one statement into the if. Let's move on. Number 4. The blender should only turn when the apple touches it. So it says use the new code you have learned to check whether the blender is touching the apple. Use a conditional to only shake the blender when the apple is touching. So I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to hit run. If you hit run, you can see that the blender's already shaking. We want to wait until the apple goes into the blender. So I'm going to go into control toolbox. I'm going to pull out an if statement and put it under inside the draw box. I'm just going to put it underneath shake the blender. Then I'm going to grab this whole variable. I'm going to drag it up, put it inside the if block. Then I'm going to go into sprites. and we're going to pull out sprite is touching target. So I'm going to pull that and put it into the if. I'm going to put apple for the first part and blender for the second part. In reality, it doesn't matter which one you put together, put first or second. It's good. It's the fact that they're touching. So I'm going to hit reset and run, and you'll see that the apple goes into the blender and starts shaking. Hit it again, run it again, just so you see it again. And then it shakes for a few moments. We're done. Continue on. Okay, so we hit run here, and if you read your code, you're using your arrow keys. So I'm going to bring the tack down. And if you notice, it popped when the tack is way out here. So we have to change the size of the collider. So it says do this, run the code, and use the arrow keys to move the tack to pop the balloon. Inside the code below, change balloon debug to false to balloon debug true. Add a new debug block to the code and set the tack sprite property to true. Run the code again to discuss with why. Run the code again and then discuss with your partner why the balloon is popping early. Okay, so I'm going to pull that up and go down. So I'm going to go over here where it says in the sprite toolbox, pull out sprite debug, and I'm going to put it down on line 7 underneath tack, and we're going to change that this word sprite to tack. I'm sorry, tack. And we're going to change the equals to true. We're going to go up to line 3 and change where it says balloon debug, and we're going to change that false to true. But even after we do that, you can see the box is too big. So we need to go into animation. Okay, so we're going to go into animation. We're going to click on the balloon. Click on this balloon box up here, and you can see how it's just the balloon is filling just part of the box. So what we're going to do, we're going to come over here to where it says resize drawing area. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll see these two boxes right here. They both need to be clicked, so they're both blue with check marks in them. I'm going to come over here and click again. Then I'm going to go up to crop. And I'm going to crop, and you'll see that the balloon has now taken up all that space. Some kids were drawing little faces on it. And I'm just using my mouse. If I had my pen, I could do a better job. You can make little faces. Nose. Okay. I'm going to go back in the resize. I'm not sure I like how mine is. I wanted it to be completely center. Go back up there. And we're going to click at it and go back into code up here. And now when we hit run, just notice the box is a little smaller. So now I'm going to bring the tack down, and it's not going to pop until it gets to the box. Okay? Simple enough. Hit finish. Okay, we're going to do both of these. There'll be a total of 10 activities today. So you're being graded on 10. Okay, so I'm going to hit run. You see the sun falling down on the sad rabbit, and ideally it should be, the bunny should be smiling when the sun hits it. And this is really a simple one. Most classes got this with no trouble. It's just because this if box is outside the draw box. So we're going to pull down the if block, put it underneath background. Now we're going to hit reset and run, and now when the sun hits the bunny, It should pop its ears up, and it's a happy bunny now. Okay. Finish. Continue. We're going to do the circle colliders now. This one is very similar to the balloon. If you look at the colliders, they have squares around them. So what they want us to do is change these colliders to be circular. So I'm going to go into sprites, and I am going to pull out the sprite collider, and I'm going to put it in this where this gray block is, and I'm going to grab another collider and put that underneath on line 13 under coin 2. Now we're going to put coin 1 up in that. Name it coin 1. Coin 2. And I'm going to drop the arrow down, and we're going to change it to circle on both of those. I'm going to hit reset and run, and now you can see the circle around the coins. Okay? Easy. Hit finish. Continue. Make sure you're finished both those activities. Hit finish here. Okay, this was supposed to be an assessment, a very simple one for that matter. So I'm going to hit run, and what should happen when the rainbow touches the horse, it should turn into a unicorn. So I'm going to pull this down. It says add code that changes the horse's sprite appearance into a unicorn when the rainbow touches it. So I am going to go into control, pull out an if, I'm going to drop it there, underneath inside the draw box. I'm going to go into sprite, and I'm going to pull it out sprite touching, sprite just touch, put it there underneath, and it's going to be rainbow in the first spot, and horse in the second. Then I'm going to come over into sprites. I'm going to get the set animation, and I'm going to put it inside the if block. And for the sprite, I'm going to put horse. And the animation is already preloaded, so just drop that arrow down and choose unicorn. Hit reset, run, and now the unicorn is present after the rainbow touches it. I'm going to hit finish, continue, and we're going to do these last two. We're not going to do the free play unless you want to do some extra credit. I'm going to click on 8A. So when I hit run here, you see how the collide box is like, it doesn't match the roll. So what we're going to do, this is another relatively simple one. I'm going to come into sprites, and I'm going to pull out set collider. We're going to name it roller, and we're going to leave it a rectangle. But see, if you look here, there's an arrow right here on the end of the collider, and we're going to expand this 5 times. Okay, the numbers. Ideally, if we had last time, I was going to let you try to figure the numbers out on your own. But we're going to put 0 in the first one, 0 in the second one, 35, 180. Now I'm doing this on memory, so I may have to come back and change this. And the last one is going to be 30. So it's 0, 0, 35, 180, 30. I'm going to hit reset, and now you can see how the collider box is just around the roller. Does that make sense? That's with multiple parameters. So I'm going to hit finish, finish, and I'm going to go on to the B. 8B. Now if I hit run, now I'm going to move my ghost up with my up arrow. And if you touch the coin, you can see how the the points are just going up without even doing much of anything. It's just touching it. We want to make it so the points are only going to go up every time you touch the coin. So, okay, let me read the instructions. So it says games often give you points when two sprites touch. This program does that, but notice what happens when the score as the sprites continue to touch. Your challenge is to get it so only 1 point is scored. There are multiple ways to do this, but the easiest way is to move one or both sprites to a different location right when the score increases. Instructions: read and run the code to understand how it works and what is going on, what's gone wrong. Identify the line of code that increases the score. Add an additional line of code so that at least one sprite moves to a new location. So let me pull this up. So I'm going to go into my variables. And this is our most used variable, the x equals blank. So I'm going to put one underneath where it says points. And I'm going to take another one and put it underneath that one. So we have two of the same variable there. We're going to go into sprites. We're going to take the sprite x and put it on the first part of the top variable and the sprite y on the bottom part. And we're going to type coin in both of those. Coin. Now we're going to go into our math toolbox, and they only have one equation there, so we're going to pull out random number, put it on the second part, like on the y, and we're going to change that 10 to 400. 400. And I'm going to run. Now when I take my arrow key and move up, the coin should jump to a random location on our grid. And now that it only changes by 1 point every time you touch the coin. Okay? And if you've done that, you're done. Thank you so much. See you in class.